I wrote a letter to my dead brother and deleted it. That night, it printed itself. Computer off, printer off, the letter just appeared on my desk. I was 9 the first time I saw it. Small, bold, standing, not moving. At first it seemed harmless, but then, footsteps in the hall, cabinets opening, something watching me at night. My friends heard it too. That's when I realised whatever was in that house had been waiting. We had only moved in a year earlier, when I was 8 years old. There was nothing unusual about the place. It wasn't old, no one died there, and it didn't feel creepy in any way. Just a completely average suburban house. From the front door, there was a hallway immediately to the right with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. Straight ahead opened into a larger living room with a half wall separating it from the dining room on the left, and the kitchen just beyond that. Where the kitchen and the living room met, there was another small hallway that led to the master bedroom, an office, another bathroom, and a breakfast nook that connected the laundry and utility area. My room was down the first hallway on the right, past the bathroom. The other bedroom was mostly used for storage. I was my mother's only child living in the house. My half-brother and sister didn't live with us and rarely came to visit. At the time, everything felt completely normal. But after that night, things started happening more often. At first, it was small things. When I was home alone, cabinet doors would open and close on their own. I'd hear dishes being moved around the kitchen. Sometimes I'd catch movement out the corner of my eye, but when I turned, nothing would be there. And then there was her. I would wake up at night and see a young woman hovering over my bed. She looked like Rosie the Riveter from one of those old 1940s posters. Denim shirt, red and white bandana, tied around her hair. She would just stare at me for a few minutes. Then slowly, she'd float over my body and pass through the wall behind me. Strangely, I was never afraid of her. When I was about 9, I'd just lost my last tooth, so was expecting the tooth fairy. In the middle of the night, I woke up and saw a figure standing in my room. It was bold, small, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, like a child, just standing there, completely still. I remember thinking, the tooth fairy. My parents always said if I was awake, I wouldn't get any money, so I rolled over and forced myself back to sleep. The next morning, I told them everything. I was excited. They said it was just a dream. When I was about 12, my parents divorced. After that, it was just me and my mum living in the house. By the time I was in my late teens, she was rarely home, and the house became a hangout spot for me and my friends. Most nights, we'd all gather there after work to play Dungeons and Dragons, or just spend time together. One night, we decided to try something different. I picked up a Ouija board from a local toy store a few weeks earlier, and we figured we'd use it. We sat in my room with the lights off and the door closed. At first, everything was normal. Nothing really happened. Then we asked something like, "Show yourself." Right after that, we heard the front door open, then close. Heavy footsteps started moving down the hallway toward my room. The handle of my door began to turn. One of my friends jumped up and locked it before it could open. And then, silence. We didn't hear any footsteps walking away, no sound at all. After a while, we turned on the light and opened the door, thinking maybe my mum had come back unexpectedly. The house was empty, the front door was locked. We decided we'd had enough. We put the board away, and everyone went home. A few weeks later, we were all back again, this time playing Dungeons and Dragons. One of the girls who usually came had to work late and had classes in the morning, so she said she wouldn't be coming. Around 2 in the morning, while we were all sitting in the living room, we all heard it at the same time. Footsteps running across the wooden front porch. They were quick and light, like a small child running. Everyone heard it. We even started talking about whether our friend changed their mind and had shown up. Since she was short, it made more sense than a child being outside that late. But she never came in. So we went to check. No one was there. Her car wasn't outside. Her boyfriend, who was with us, called her. She answered. She had just gotten home on the other side of town and was going to bed. After that night, things escalated. I started seeing shadow figures with red eyes in the living and dining room. I'd hear footsteps at all hours of the day and night. I began waking up to see hooded figures standing near my window or my door. Around that same time, my half-brother passed away. It was sudden. I hadn't seen him in years. He had gotten into drugs, and my mum had kept me away from him because she didn't want him to influence me. After he died, I started hearing his voice. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear him saying my name. One night, while I was home alone and bored, I decided to write him a letter on my computer. I wrote everything I wish I could have said to him, but afterwards I felt stupid, so I deleted it. I didn't save it. I didn't print it. I shut the computer down and went to bed. Sometime around 3 in the morning, I woke up. My bed was completely soaked. At first, I thought my puppy had peed on it, but there was way too much water, and he was housebroken. I got up to change the sheets. As I walked past the bathroom, I noticed the light was on, even though I'd turned off all the lights before going to bed. Inside, sitting on the counter, was a picture from the kitchen. It was still wet inside. When I was younger, my brother used to wake me and my sister up by throwing water on us because it made me laugh. When I went back to my room, I noticed something sitting on top of my printer, a piece of paper. It was the letter, the one I had written, deleted, and never printed. The computer was still shut down. The printer was off. But somehow, the letter had been printed, torn off, and placed neatly on top, like someone had read it. Things like this continued for a few years while I lived there off and on. Then shortly, before I moved out, everything turned darker. The hooded figures appeared more often. One night, I woke up with a feeling that I was being stared at. I rolled over and saw what looked like a rotting corpse just inches from my face. Another night, I woke up and saw a hooded man standing at the foot of my bed. My bedroom door was open, even though I'd closed it before going to sleep. He raised his hand, and a ball of light appeared in his palm. Then he threw it straight at my face. Right before it hit me, both the figure and the light disappeared, but the room was freezing, cold enough that I could see my breath on a normally hot southern summer night. In my early 20s, after I had moved out for good, I went back one last time. My mum hadn't been to the house in months and was preparing to sell it. I told my cousin about everything that had happened there over the years. One night, out of boredom, he and a friend picked me up so we could go ghost hunting in the empty house. We brought cameras, and he brought a voice recorder. We set the recorder in my old bedroom and spent an hour or two walking around the house taking pictures. We didn't find anything, so we went back to my room to sit down and listen to the recording. At first, it was just us, our voices moving from room to room, joking around, talking about how his friend's camera had a sexy shutter sound, and how mine stopped working almost as soon as we walked in the door. Then about 20 minutes in, we could hear all three of our voices coming from the other side of the house. And right next to the microphone, a deep voice said, "Get the fuck out." We didn't question it. We left immediately. A few years later, I found out my mum had her own experiences in that house. She would wake up and see an older man, maybe in his 50s or 60s, looking through her closet or just wandering around. Whenever she tried to speak to him, he would turn, look at her, and then vanish. She always thought it was just a dream, but after everything I experienced in that house, I don't think it was. That's it for now. If you made it through, hit like and subscribe for more nightmares. Whisper in the comments what haunted you the most. Until next time, the darkness waits. And remember, the archive is always listening.